Yeah, I don't know. It's hard because we saw him towards the end of the Boston series starting to do some encore work, but they said at that time it wasn't really close, right? He still had scar tissue that was breaking down and those sorts of things. So my guess is as long as they're right there, we may not see him. But this could be one where by the time you get to game four, game five, if you kind of feel like you need to break him out, you throw him out there because if he can just give you 10 minutes, 15 minutes and get you 8, 10 points, that's better than most of what you're bringing off your bench right now. So maybe, but as long as they continue to get through just fine, they're probably not going to push it to put him back out on the floor, especially if he's going to be limited at all.
Keith, I want to talk about what's going on around the league and this head coaching cycle. There's always one hire that just kind of like you scratch your head and you're like, that's who they went with. And for me, when Phoenix signed Frank Vogel, that was one of those that I was like, what is going on? What were your thoughts with that hire? Like, were you surprised by that? And do you like the fit with him in Phoenix?
I was a little bit surprised because he wasn't part of that initial candidate group, but I like the fit. I think he's a very good coach. I think he won a title with the Lakers, and then immediately proceeded to get absolutely no credit at all. And then when he left and everything kind of went sideways, it just wasn't quite as good. So I think he's a really good, solid coach. I think he knows what he's doing. I think when you give him the right kind of team, he'll do some stuff. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say DeAndre Ayton has his best year that he's had in the NBA under Frank
Mm-hmm.
Vogel. I think he's going to put him in a place to really do some stuff defensively. And this is a guy who had Roy Hibbert playing at an all-star level. Well, DeAndre Ayton has a lot of physical talents that are close to what Roy Hibbert had. So I think there's a chance we're going to see him really develop defensively and offensively. It's almost kind of idiot proof, right? Make sure Booker and Durant get plenty of shots. Chris Paul will likely still be there. Just let him be the one who's setting those guys up, and you're probably moving on into 50 wins and into a pretty good team. The big thing for the Suns beyond Frank Vogel, you got to add some depth to that roster because right now the depth is really really weak. They just emptied so much out to trade for KD that they just had nothing left. So you got to get that solved because Kevin Durant at this point 60 is probably the high water mark for games for him in a season just given the way it's gone. And Booker isn't always the picture of health himself. So you got to have somebody in there to eat up those minutes in the regular season.
He's going to be very impactful right away. And what I mean by that is I think that he's going to be the main slot receiver. He is a tight end. I get it. But we can't think of him like a tight end. The Bills, as I said, what they wanted to do is replicate Cole Beasley, but with a bigger matchup problem for other teams. They want somebody who can control the middle of the field. They were missing that last year. They were missing somebody who Josh Allen could just rely on to get the ball out of his hands and get it to right away. So it's even funny, like, yes, he's a tight end. He's not going to play like a traditional inline tight end. That's really going to be more of Dawson Knox's role. And Dawson's still going to catch passes, no doubt. But now the Bills have been referring to Dalton Kincaid as the F tight end, the flex tight end. And I think the funniest thing is even Brandon Beane coming out and saying how much they want to run 12 personnel with two tight ends. He goes, but even with Dalton, it's more 11 and a half personnel because he's actually more of a receiver than he is a tight end. So I think he's in for a really big role this year. Now, I guess the question is, how much he can handle as a rookie, right? How much you're going to keep on the field on 3 downs? Is it going to be more, spot duty? Look, this is a first-round pick they moved up to grab. This is a guy they've been really looking to try and have in their offense. You go back. Last year they signed O.J. Howard. Didn't make the team. The year before that, Jacob Hollister. They went with Tyler Croft. They would have drafted T.J. Hawkinson if he had gone instead of going one pick earlier. So the Bills have been after this type of tight end for years, and now they finally have one with big assets. So I think that they're going to really use him. I think it's only DeAndre Hopkins, if anybody. There could be a guy out there they feel can help on the bottom end of their roster, a veteran guy, like they did with Brandon Shell as a lineman. They had 2 big moves this past weekend. They extended Ed Oliver, which is very surprising to a lot of people, but now we know why, because they used some of that money they freed up by extending him and moving money around to sign Leonard Floyd. That was the one spot they really needed to add and address is defensive end, edge rusher, especially with Von Miller's situation and not knowing if he's truly going to be healthy and ready to start the year. But at wide receiver, they could still use help. They could still use someone like DeAndre Hopkins. I don't think that they really would just go after anybody, though. I don't think that they could use somebody like they signed Trent Sherfield. They signed Deontay Hardy. They have guys on this roster, and Dalton Kincaid has to factor in here, like I said. So I don't think it's anybody in that area. It's had to be somebody like DeAndre. And I think why DeAndre or someone of his name and caliber is still appealing is as much as Gabe Davis has done some really nice things, guys, if something happened to Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis becomes your number 1 wide receiver. And he's done some really nice things, and he could be a number 2. But to ask him to carry the wide receiver group, I think is a lot. And I think that's why they'd still be in the mix for a guy like DeAndre Hopkins if they can get him.
Kyrie Irving has reached out to Lakers star LeBron James in attempts to see if James would come to Dallas. That's the headline, and it's laughable. It's laughable. Of course he reached out. Yeah. Guys have conversations all the time, PJ. But you know what? LeBron's not going to give up that Lakers jersey and what they've built to go to a team, well, one, in general, that doesn't really know what their identity is. 2, does not have a good head coach in Jason Kidd. And 3, let's just put aside the fact that the Mavs don't have any options in terms of assets to give up to the Lakers. If the Lakers, on top of that, were able to say, yeah, we'll make this trade, how does LeBron and a ball-dominant Kyrie and a ball-dominant Luka work together? Good luck.
Nick, Kyrie reaching out to LeBron is just about as good as me reaching out to Natalie Portman. Like, there's just absolutely no chance.
Here she's on the market now.
I know. There's absolutely no chance. Look, here's the thing that just is why it will never, ever happen, is Bronny is going to USC. Bronny is the first kid in LeBron's family to make it to college, and we see him at his games all the time. And the fact that he's going to USC, like, why would LeBron leave LA? Now, if Bronny transfers to TCU, or if he, if he transfers somewhere in the Dallas area, if he goes to Texas, then I think these rumors all of a sudden become very interesting. As long as Bronny is enrolled in USC, there's absolutely zero chance that he is not playing for the Lakers.
Now, if you told me that Bronny was going to get drafted by the Mavs, then I'd say, well, yeah, LeBron might go join it. Because you know my conspiracy theory is that, and now it's caught on. I'd like to say that I was early on this, by the way, that LeBron is going to go wherever Bronny gets drafted, and it's a package deal, so teams will be more willing to draft Bronny, and maybe he'll even go in the top 10 because of that. But, yeah, he's not like, the Mavs are in a horrible situation right now. And Kyrie also has no other option, so he's looking around going, well, I'm not going to get paid. There's another report out there. The Lakers aren't willing to give him a massive deal, Kyrie, which I think is the right choice.
Yeah, I'm going to have to change your mind on this one, Scott, because, look, folks, Miami's given us too much data for me to say that they're going to lose this series in 5 games. They're unbelievable as big underdogs, which they're going to be every time they've played in Denver. They just keep getting guys to step up game after game after game. Maybe Herro plays, maybe he doesn't. I can't see him really hurting their team, but Eric Spoelstra is unbelievable. Nick, I was scrolling through Twitter during commercial break. I saw an unbelievable stat. Miami during the postseason has been outscored in the first quarter, the second quarter, and the third quarter.
Yep.
They're outscoring teams by 90 points in the fourth quarter. 2 words, Eric Spoelstra. The Heat will not get gentlemen swept. I think this goes 6 or 7 games.
They shot 11 for 16 in the fourth quarter. And they shot almost 69% nice and had 36 points in that fourth to win that game. It's all about the pressure. It's all about their backs being against the wall. I bet Denver in 6. I'm going to stick with that, though I wouldn't be surprised if this does go 7. I wasn't ready to write this thing off, but it did look really bad in Game 1. But what we're seeing now in Game 2 is that the Heat do still have that rhythm. They are still able to knock down shots. That's what got them to this point.
Yep.
It was being the polar opposite of what they were during the regular season. I still see a team that if it's not one guy, it's another that has a rhythm from the outside. Bam Adebayo's been great in the first 2 games. Keep taking the overs with him. And look, Mike Malone has talked about this before, right? With the Lakers and how they were going to defend Jokic. And he's like, it's not like we haven't seen this type of thing before. Miami at least executed in Game 2 against Jokic what they should have done and what they probably were trying to do in Game 1. Make him a scorer, which sounds dumb, but they don't win when nobody else is involved. Michael Porter Jr. was a mess. Jamal Murray was not good in that game, and you didn't even get enough. You didn't get the Aaron Gordon outburst. You just didn't have a balanced attack like you had in Game 1 and like what we saw against the Lakers from the Nuggets. So, no, I still think, Scott, that this is going at least 6 games, maybe even 7. But that's with the caveat that Miami continues to be able to shoot the way they are, because if those shots don't fall, then it is a gentleman's sweep. So unique. And he's so different than anything else we've seen in the NBA.
I know.
And now he's on that stage where everybody can actually see it. Doesn't look he just looks like that big dude that plays pickup really well. And you're like, wait, this guy's the best player in the NBA now. Look at this. And look, he's so good at what he does, though. After what I saw in Game 2, I think Jokic has a triple-double in Game 3. He comes right back around and finds a way, and so does Mike Malone and the Nuggets.
Well, and what I love is the fact it's at plus money. It's at plus 120. It was minus 140.
It's about damn time. I've been waiting for that. I might actually bet the triple-double because I got sick of seeing it at minus 145. And I'm like, I'm not betting a triple-double at minus 145. So the hope was, if he doesn't have one, they'll move that slightly back to plus money, and then I'll take advantage of it. And yeah, plus 120, not great. Jimmy Butler's the only other one BetMGM offers, and it's plus 1350 for a triple-double for him.
Wow. Yeah, no, I like the Jokic triple-double. I like that we're getting it at plus money again. I just think that's too much of an overreaction. He had the points and the rebounds in Game 2. He just only had 4 assists, and now we're ready to move from a minus 140 to plus 120 off of one game. I just think all the value is there.